I was 17 when I stopped believing that schools were safe places. It happened on a Tuesday in late October. I had detention that afternoon, nothing serious. A missed assignment that my teacher, Mr. Calloway, had zero patience for. By 5:30 there were 4 of us left in room 114, sitting in uncomfortable silence while Mr. Calloway graded papers at his desk, and the hallway outside gradually emptied out. The janitors had already done their sweep of our wing. The parking lot outside the window was down to 3 cars. Everything was ordinary. That's the part I keep coming back to. Everything felt completely, boringly ordinary. At 5:42, the intercom clicked on. We all looked up automatically, the way you do when that sound happens, conditioned from years of morning announcements and fire drill warnings. There was a pause on the line, just long enough to be slightly too long, and then a voice came through. It was shaking. "This is not a drill. This is not a drill. All staff and students remaining in the building, stay where you are. Stay quiet. Do not open your doors." Then the intercom clicked off. Nobody in room 114 moved for about 3 seconds. Then Mr. Calloway was up from his desk, moving faster than I'd ever seen a teacher move. He killed the classroom lights, locked the door, pulled the shade down over the door's small rectangular window, and told us in a low, controlled voice to get under our desks and stay there. We did exactly that. I remember the floor being cold through my jeans. I remember the sound of my own breathing seeming very loud. Through the gap at the bottom of the door shade, I could see the hallway lights going out, section by section, not all at once, but progressively, like something moving through the building and cutting them as it went, until only the dim red glow of the emergency strips remained. Mr. Calloway crouched between the desks with us. He had his phone in his hand. I could see him typing something. I assumed a message to administration or his wife, but his face gave nothing away. A few minutes passed. Then I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow ones. Not a jog, not a rushed walk, the kind of pace that belongs to someone who isn't worried about being heard. I raised my head slightly and looked through the thin gap at the bottom of the door shade. A figure passed the window. Dark clothing. Moving slowly. Head slightly forward like someone reading numbers off the classroom doors as they walked. I lowered myself back to the floor and didn't move. The classroom phone rang. One of those old wall-mounted units with a loud institutional bell that sounds completely different from any normal phone. In the silence of that room, under those desks, it was enormous. Nobody moved. It rang again and again. On the 4th ring, Mr. Calloway stood up slowly and crossed to the wall phone. He lifted the receiver. He didn't say anything, just listened, one hand pressed to his opposite ear to block out the room. His face was neutral when he picked up. Over the next 15 seconds, I watched it change. Not dramatically, just a gradual shift, the way a face looks when someone is working hard to keep their expression from showing what they're actually processing. He hung up quietly. Marcus, who was crouched next to me, whispered, barely a breath, "Who was it?" Mr. Calloway looked at us for a moment before he answered. "It sounded like Principal Graves," he said. But Principal Graves left the building at 4:30. Nobody said anything after that. We stayed under those desks for another 20 minutes. I watched the door. The hallway outside stayed dark and quiet. I had almost convinced myself that the worst was over when the knocking started. 3 slow knocks on the classroom door. Then a voice, male, calm, completely relaxed. The kind of voice that belongs to someone who has all the time in the world. "You can open up now. It's safe. Everything's been cleared." Mr. Calloway didn't move toward the door. I raised my head just enough to look through the bottom edge of the door shade, at the section of hallway visible through the small window, where a person standing at our door should have been visible. Legs, torso. At minimum, there was nothing. just the dim red emergency lighting and empty hallway floor. I looked at Mr. Calloway and shook my head slowly. He nodded once and stayed exactly where he was. The door handle moved. Not rattled, moved. Slowly, deliberately, rotating downward the way it would if someone on the other side were pressing it with one careful hand. The lock held. The handle reached its limit and stopped. Then, after a moment, it rotated back to neutral. The footsteps moved away down the hallway. Police arrived at 6:45 and swept the building for 2 hours. They found no intruder, no sign of forced entry, no explanation for the intercom announcement, which building administration later confirmed had not been made by any staff member. The security footage was reviewed the following morning. It showed a tall figure entering from the east corridor at 5:38, walking slowly through 3 separate hallways, pausing at certain classroom doors, and then moving into the old unused wing at the north end of the building, a section that had been locked and decommissioned for renovation 2 years earlier. After entering that wing, the figure did not appear on any subsequent camera. There was no exit footage. Principal Graves confirmed he had left at 4:27. No one ever explained the phone call.